For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, I'm hanging out with Scott Halls. How's it going today, Scott?
Good. How are you, Tom?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Just trying to get myself back on some kind of rotating schedule with everything kind of going on. Kind of fell behind on a lot of stuff. So, but before we kind of jump into everything, I want to thank you so much for jumping on here and chatting a little bit before you got to go to work, because I know you got to leave for work here in a little bit. But what's kind of your background? What got you into music, stuff of that nature?
Yeah, as a junior, as a kid, I was massively into tennis, wanted to be a pro player, had an injury at 12. Which kind of stopped all of that, and an outlet became guitar. I ditched school one day, or getting put into music classes, and so they automatically put me into one spot they had, which was guitar. Mm-hmm. And then the teacher rang up my parents after the first session, said you need to book him into lessons because he can do it. And from there, I just never looked back. It was that thing I needed to really enjoy teenage years, and just really loved it.
Gotcha. What was it about the guitar that kind of drew you to that instrument?
It was like late 90s was kind of when I started to get into music. It was the whole punk skater scene. Yeah. And it was the cool instrument, and it was everything about that. I mean, Green Day were hitting, but more in Australia, Body Jar were a huge band. It was just the guitars, and just everything about it was amazing. Like drums and that were cool, but the guitar was the instrument to play.
Gotcha. And then how kind of moving forward, how long before you started deciding to take music professionally?
It kind of happened accidentally. So during school, I played with mates and all of that, and then we started to get into gigs. Then we started to enter a couple local competitions, then started to do got some touring opportunities, recording opportunities. And then all of a sudden it was just, it took over everything. And so after school, started to play a lot of pub gigs and just met people, and they're like, hey, do you want to, do the sound on our tour? So we get on a bus and go, down to Melbourne and up to Brisbane and all up the east coast of Australia. And it just became something I accidentally did. Okay. I was looking for a job as well. So I went into my local guitar store, and they're like, do you have any experience teaching? I said, no, but I'm happy to give it a go. And they didn't want to put me on, but someone was away, so they put me in. It worked well. And then all of a sudden I had a job, and it just happened without me really trying.
Oh, that's really cool. And then as far as like influences and stuff, as you were starting to learn how to play guitar, who were some of your influences?
Absolutely loved Dave Grohl, because he was that weird guy that didn't do lessons. He had a different way of playing, which I've later found out was a lot to do with his drumming and all of that. Love the way he would play melodic stuff. Chris Shiflett as well from that band. And then I got into heavier stuff as well. There's an Aussie band here called Carnival. Mm-hmm. I think they've done pretty good in the US as well, like underground sort of heavier stuff.
The name sounds familiar for sure.
Yeah, it's because America's got the huge hard rock scene, and these guys kind of did a lot of cool stuff with that, and did a pretty successful tour over there. And then bands like Breaking Benjamin and all of that as well. Just started to love all that sort of angry, aggressive music.
Oh yeah, for sure. I haven't heard Breaking Ben in a long time. For whatever reason in college, I went through a huge Breaking Ben phase. Yeah, and then as I kind of left school, I kind of fell out of that phase. So,
well, they went from college rock to kind of, sort of that heavier, I don't even know what you call, just hard rock.
Yeah. And
it's really polished, recorded stuff, but I still like it.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely do have some good music. It's just, it's one of those things where it's like, If I don't listen to them, I'm not.
Cheeseburger, you know, it's not going to break anything in your brain. It's not like there's something you haven't had before, but every now and then you just really are digging it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been really busy this year, releasing new music after new music. What's kind of the vision for your current project? Because it's kind of a solo project, but it's a band. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the one thing I've always loved is collaborating with people, but it's hard to get people to commit to do one project, and especially now we're in lockdown. So last year, I was fully into a career of other stuff, and then kind of sold my business and wanted to get back into music. Lockdown started, so it's like, oh, this sucks. I can't really do anything with anyone. And I found websites like Sound Better and Air Gigs where there's musicians are up there, and you can hire them to work on your projects and that. So I was kind of like, I love the idea of creating my stuff, but then having people collaborate with me. And so it became a solo project, but I still wanted to work with other people. Like, I'm not a drummer. I can do it, but it's not going to help the song out.
Yeah.
And so I got in contact with Nick from the band Bush, who's up on Sound Better. And it's like, hey, can you do a couple of drum tracks for me? And it just made it so exciting to play again. So it's like playing with a band, but it's all sort of my songs and direction and all of that.
Gotcha. And so you've released how many songs so far this year? 4, 5?
I think this is the 5th sort of single to get started. I'm putting together an album, just slowly finding my feet, because I've had a few years off from the whole promoting stuff and all of that. So even Spotify, that's new. So I'm like stumbling through it, going far out. Everything has changed so quickly. Yeah. And working on an album, I'm almost finished it, and then just planning the release probably around December.
Cool. Because the 2 singles that I really enjoyed when I was kind of going through your catalog was Ashes to Ashes, and then of course Shadows in the Window, which is your most recent single. So,
yeah.
What was kind of let's look at Shadows in the Window for a second. What was kind of the original idea for that song when you?
The idea was, so it was in lockdown last year when COVID first kind of hit, and the musical part of it for me felt just like energetic, like Queens of the Stone Age or Foo Fighters sort of stuff. And then the vocal ideas just came from, when there's someone just in your life, maybe it's a work person or anything, and they just really frustrate you in every single way possible. Yeah. And to the point of where it's just like you see them and your day's just completely ruined. And so I thought it'd be fun to just put just wrote about that in the song without intentionally doing it, and it just kind of stuck. So it's like probably the most negative song I've written, but I also love that part of it. Yeah. And it was just a lot of fun putting together. It was just kind of all came out. And then again, I got Nick Nick Hughes from Bush. And once he put the drums down, I re-recorded some of the guitars. It just made it lift even more. And it was just so much fun to put together. And I think I also got on that one, Greg Carrillo from Nashville. He's been on like Shinedown's stuff. He's a session muso. I think country stuff as well. Yeah. He was so cool just putting in a couple things. Nice. So that became the first one that really got me excited to be back into music. And Ashes to Ashes was another one that kind of wrote it around the same time. And again, another one was just kind of heavy rock, but energetic and just fun.
Nice. And all these songs were recorded in lockdown or during lockdown? Or
yeah, I've got like here this tiny little room that I've just converted across. Got Logic Pro set up with a Focusrite thing, a whole bunch of guitars behind me, and all the guitars, all the vocals. Got the vocal mic here. Everything was done here, and then online. So literally no one was in the room. Like everyone did it separately, and we all put it together that way.
Nice. And you're primarily singing and doing guitar? Or are you playing any other instruments? I know you said you don't do drums, but are you doing?
I'll put the song together. So bass is all me as well. I'll have the drums programmed in, and then I send that across to Nick, and then he kind of does his own thing. But I'll put the whole song and the arrangement together first, and then see if there's anyone I know that can really help that song be better. Because I think just being one person, you have one idea, but then if someone else comes in with a different flavor, it can just make something so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're working towards releasing an album at the end of the year. What's kind of the plan as hopefully things open back up and you're able to get out and play live? Are you gonna start incorporating people into the band and make it more of a band, or like what's kind of the plan once things start to open up?
What happened just before we went into this lockdown was I was doing a lot of local gigs again, a lot of acoustic stuff, and that was starting to build and be really successful. Then we got shut down again. So the plan was to build that up and maybe do some gigs. I wanted this to be more of a recording project. But at the same time, if I meet the right people, we might put together some gigs. In a year and a half, I'm planning, hopefully, to move with my fiance to Jacksonville. So go over to the States and actually do a bit over there. So that's where she's from. Mm-hmm. And the States is one of the places I've always wanted to tour and play.
Nice.
So that's kind of the ultimate goal, is to get over with you guys.
Nice. Jacksonville is a really cool spot. It's like right in between. It's not right in between a nice little musical hotbed, but it's really interesting. My dad, he had prostate cancer about 3 years ago at this point, and that's where he got his treatment at. And so I went to go visit him every weekend, and Jacksonville is just a really cool place. So much live music and stuff. So I'm sure you'll really enjoy.
I was over there 2 years ago, Jack's Beach, and I fell in love with it. It's very similar to where I am here on the northern beaches. Mm-hmm. And everyone, it's amazing. I mean, I know America gets a bad rap from people around the world, but it was the nicest people in the world. They would open doors for you. And I got back to Australia and I thought, far out, everyone here is an a-hole. Like just the whole time. After spending time in Florida, it was so nice, and it made me think, far out, we're kind of rude here.
Yeah.
It changed my perspective a lot, and I fell in love with that place. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've not ever been to Australia, but during the pandemic, I've started doing this podcast online, and, just meeting a lot of musicians from Australia. They're all so nice. And I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like the platform and, kind of have to be nice. But, it's one of those things like just after the interview and like after everything's all said and done, they'll just message me and be like, hey, how you doing? Like 3 weeks later, and just check and see how I'm doing, and so I don't know. It's interesting, but I get what you're. I get. It wasn't
Disney on Australia. It was more just how it opened my eyes to.
Yeah.
I mean, don't like believe everything you watch on the news, and that was kind of what it taught me. And it was just a different sort of nice. It was a lot more manners.
Yeah.
I think that was the big difference. It was just there's courteous things here. You'll open your own doors, but there might be a guy there, and he's got his hands full of stuff. He will do everything he can to open a door to be polite to you. Yeah. And that just like blew me away. It's because you wouldn't get that here.
Yeah, I got you. Completely understood. So have you decided on, do you have a release date in mind for the full album, or are you just going to kind of see how the next few singles go before you kind of set?
I'm up and down. I've got a whiteboard here that keeps getting changed with a whole bunch of stuff on it. Just because of, I was going to release it as an EP, a 5-track, and then started to really like the way a whole bunch of songs are going and they fit well together. So I didn't want to split them up. And I think December right now gives me enough time to get it done because I'm always impatient. Some of those songs were put out the same week that they were fully mixed and mastered. I was like, all right, I'm putting you up. And rather than sitting back and going, okay, how do I want to release this?
Yeah. So
I think December right now, it'll be probably, let's say the 1st of December.
Gotcha.
But then that just gives the time for me to really release it properly and hopefully do it justice and start to learn just how to promote things better. Because that's the aim of the game, is there's so much good music out there, but you never hear it because it's just not in the right spots.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so I'm looking at just making sure these songs are good. 8 are recorded fully, maybe 2 or 3 more. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Don't you love it when you have the original idea of doing like a 5-song EP and then things go so well, it's like, oh, well, this is a full length now.
Yeah, we're going that way now.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. Like I'm enjoying the songs I'm doing, and hopefully other people will respond to it. But it's much better than flipping it around, playing songs you hate that other people like. So
Yeah.
at least I've got that first part down where I'm enjoying how this music's going and what I'm trying to say with it. And yeah, hopefully that will show.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you got to get ready to go to work here in a minute. But before we let you go, where if people want to check out your music or follow you on social media, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, so Spotify, Apple Music, all my stuff's up on all the major sort of streaming platforms under Scott Halls with an S at the end, so not like the wrestler. It's the hardest thing ever. Everyone's like Hall. But yeah, I've got a website that'll be live next week, scotthallsmusic.com.
Mm-hmm.
That will also have everything up there, and I'm trying to have a lot of just live stuff, recording stuff, locally here. I just want to put up a lot of different stuff to have fun with and keep people interested. I think they're the main spots. Facebook, I'm on Scott Halls Music, and then on Instagram, it's Scott Halls 88.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for jumping on here. Really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later.